back. I think last week you saw we got that neck pretty well roughed out on the bandsaw. We're going to try and get that thing cleaned up this week. And let's see if we can finish this neck. I'm waiting for truss rod. That might slow me down. I think the big thing we're going to learn this week, and that I'm learning this week, I've already started and I'm in the middle of the learning process. How do we polish this mild steel better? That first one I did, yeah, it looks fine, but it could look a lot better, I think, even without nickel plating. So that's the goal. I want to see if I can just get this one better. I'm learning a ton. And this one, I'm struggling with this one a little bit to get it to where I'm really happy with it. Oh, that's funny. My voice echoes inside it. These things are so loud. I'm learning a ton on polishing this thing, and so I'm going to share all that with you guys. Mild steel has a grain to it. I don't know if grain's the right word, but it definitely has a texture to it on the outside surface. And you have to get past that texture before you can get a really nice polish on this. And what I'm trying to learn is what grit sanding do I need to do to get past that texture? It's turning into a labor-intensive process. So I'm going to share with you guys what I learned. What would be nice, and I don't know why it's such a milestone for me, it would be nice to just get to the point where I've got the holes in the top here, and the hole in the sound well, and the hole in the back. Hopefully we can get there this week. I don't know. We'll see how that neck goes. It all depends on whether my truss rods come in time or not. And you'll see I had a little snafu with the truss rods too, but figured that out. And oh, and I measured something totally wrong, and yeah, had to redo something. So anyway, lots of fun this week. Okay, let's get to it. I think we just roughed out the neck blank last week, so I'm just going to true it up a little bit and try and get that thing all dialed in and ready to go. Here we go. I'm going to keep this block, so where I have this line here, I'm going to keep all this full size because I really like having a lot of oomph down here where I screw the end pin into it. Okay, some of the neat things about hand-built guitars is you can get stuff like this. Whenever I rip these big 8/4 sawn neck blanks down the middle and glue them back together, I always flip the grain so that they're going opposite, so that if one piece is pulling crazy, it doesn't pull it wild. This one's going to get a truss rod instead of the carbon fiber rod. Okay, so let's go get the truss rod and lay it out on here and see if we can route the slot so that thing fits in there nice and tight. Looks good, looks good, looks good, looks good, looks good. Uh-oh. No, that's just not going to work. Gonna have to either see if there's shorter truss rods I can use, which I think there are, and then decide, do I even want to use a shorter truss rod? All right, gonna sit on that one for a while and think about it. Right, I'm getting ready to do the truss rod slot in the neck, and I did find one of these Martin style U-channel truss rods. I just like these better. They take up all the space in there a little bit more solid than like the two-way, you know, thin type rod. I did find these for a ukulele, which are 12.5 inches long, which literally puts it all the way back to here. I've set up the little guide things to be the right width, and I've got the right width, you know, bit in there that matches the width of this thing. It's just a matter of making a few passes to get the depth that I need for it to fit that truss rod. Okay, that's the first shallow pass done. I'm not going all the way back to the mark here yet because I don't have the truss rod yet. I ordered it, but it's not here yet. And I don't want to do this all the way to the back until I'm exactly positive where it needs to stop at. So I've stopped a little bit short here, and I don't think I'm going to have a problem, you know, finishing that out. But the rest of it's good. So the first little shallow pass went well, so now we're just going to make a bunch more little shallow passes till we get to the full depth that we need. Okay, that was easy. So that's good. Now I will connect this with a smaller slot for the truss rod access, and then the veneer goes over and the veneer gets the hole. So I may actually just drill the hole here through out to here and through the veneer and not route this, so I have a little bit more structure there, so it's a little stronger. I have one of those little bumps underneath here to add a lot of structure to this thing, so it's super strong. I'm not at all worried about it being strong enough though. It's plenty good. Pretty crazy. You'd think these things would come out of the planer super flat, but you can tell I've started sanding this one to get it flat. And see that shiny spot right there? That's a big low spot. There's a low spot right there, another little one there. 70's weird. It's got these little white spots in it on one side, but not on the other, although I'm sure if I sanded thin enough, it would have it on the other side. There's one coming through right there on this side. I've never seen white like that in ebony before. It's really weird. I don't know what it is. Maybe some kind of mold or something, or fungus, or... Man, if I get Ghana herba syphilis from this thing, it's all for you guys. Okay, I'm sticking with that dot layout that I had on guitar number 1, where, you know, I have these at the 12, the 15, and the 17, where I like them, instead of way out at the edge of the fretboard. Okay, let's drill some holes for these dots. Yep, got some holes for the dots. It went just as good as the last one. I mean, really, they're just holes at a certain depth for dots. How hard could it be? I've decided I need to buy more routers. Gets to be a pain to take the jigs off of them every time, and oh great, I'll never see that again. Anyway, it's a pain to take all this stuff off and set up the other little plate on it and change the bit, and like, you just lose too much time. I meant to take all this tape off of the top before I did that. Yeah, figured that out too late. Luckily I didn't cause any trouble. This tape is such garbage. Don't ever buy a tape that's not Scotch 3M, you know, some known good brand tape. The unfortunate thing about this tape is we had bought like a 20 pack or a 12 pack, or I don't even know, a huge pack of this tape for my son to put on the bottom of his 3D printer. And when he left for, I think he figured out pretty quickly that it was just crap tape, and he didn't use it very much. When he left for college, he brought me down all these rolls of tape and said, "Here, Dad, you can have all this tape." And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome, thank you." Little did I know, this stuff's junk. Okay, now I think we're good. We can get back to what we were doing.
I got to make up my mind. Oh, well, there's no moving forward. I can make it saute or see what's around the corner.
Okay, this is coming along nice. I like how that's going to get through there. I'll be able to get a nice cover plate on there, and that should be cool. Hopefully my shorter truss rod shows up today and I can finish the other end of this route, so that that's just all wrapped up, and then I can put the fretboard on. Well, I got to taper the sides and stuff, but anyway, I'm getting close to having this neck all together. Okay, neck, meet body, body, meet neck. You two play nice together now. Right now I'm at a standstill because my truss rods aren't here yet, so Guess I'm going back to polishing the body since I can't finish the neck right now. Well, who didn't measure that? Now I gotta cut the heel block off and make another one and glue it back on. That's ridiculous. That's way too long. Dang it. Boo. Oh well, can't win them all. Okay, we've talked to HR and we've decided to dock that person's pay, which was really easy because they don't really make any money. And I think that's enough punishment that they'll never make that measurement mistake again. Let's hope. This is a cool piece though. I'll probably never get to use it anywhere and I'll probably lose it before I do get to use it. But anyway, okay, here's where we're at on polishing this body, and it's a bit of a dilemma for me. So one of the things that happened is that big 1-inch bead roller caused me some rippling in this edge when I rolled that edge. So I'm gonna have to adjust my technique on that. I sanded this a little bit more than I would have normally sanded this edge because of that rippling. And what I've learned through that sanding process is that, wow, if you sand this thing really, really good and then you start working your way up through the grits, it's incredible the polish you can get just on mild steel. It almost looks like nickel, but maybe even better because it's a little darker like polish. I don't know, it's just got a better look to it. Okay, so if you look at this edge compared to the back, you can see, I don't know if you can tell on camera, I wish I could get a better view of this, but you can see it's just a really nice polish. When you look at the back, you'll notice, oh wow. So the back has a haze to it, and the haze that you see in the back here is not from sanding scratches that I didn't get out. It's the actual metal has a bit of a grain to it that you've got to get past that grain before you can get to a really high polish like the edge has. And I can't capture that high polish on this camera, but it is really, really highly polished on the edge. Unfortunately for me, I've got to go all the way back to 320. I was trying to figure out what grit gets through this grain. And so on the front, I was all the way to 2000 on the front and the sides and the back and everything. I started going backwards on it, and I just, I went back. I think I started at 800. I went back to 800. So does the 800 get through that grain? No. 600? No. 400? No. 400 sort of gets through that grain. Like you can see right there, I'm really highly polished right there. I made it through that grain there. But most of the other places, it's not through that grain. It looks like I got to go all the way back to 320 to get through that grain. Once I'm through that grain, I can start coming back up and get to this really nice polish, which I think is going to look amazing. And I think it's really going to keep the rust at bay too. I mean, a piece that's that highly polished, it's going to be really hard for rust to accumulate on that. I'm kind of in a funky spot with this one because I've got spots that are super highly polished and I've got spots that aren't, which means it just looks like a mutt right now. Like parts of it look great, parts of it don't look great, parts of it just look okay. And you're like, man, it's all over the map right now. So I'm stuck. I've got to just go all the way to highly polished on this one, which is fine. It's just an unbelievable amount of work. I've been at this for quite a long time. Let's try and get through that grain on the back. I'm going to hit this thing with 320 on the back and see if I get through that grain. And if I do, I'm calling it grain. If I get through that texture with 320, then I should be able to pretty quickly bring this thing back up to a nice polish pretty fast. These micro mesh pads really do a nice job of getting you through the grits quickly. You just put them on your DA sander. So I've been through 400, 800, 1000, 1200, 1500, and 2000 here. Yeah, 2000. I've been through all of those already, and I'm going to have to go back through those again. Okay, here we go. Back to 320 on here. It's going to hurt, but we're going to do it. Let's go. Okay, I've got 320 grit loaded up on my sander. If it looks like I'm crying in this next time lapse, it's because I was. Dang it. Here we go. Okay, the back is sanded to 320 now, and I'm pretty confident I'm through that texture layer. And I'm also fairly confident that all the scratches that are in it right now are 320 scratches, because when I sand this way, I can see all the scratches move direction. Then you go this way and they move back. And so that tells me that I'm probably pretty much through all the higher grit scratches. So here we go. We're going to go to 420 and see where we get with that. No, 400. They don't make 420 that I know of. That's 400 and it's going pretty well, I guess. I mean, it's just a ton of work. Yeah, I guess we're going to keep going now to 600. Boy. Well, I guess that grain in the steel is not something I can overcome, which is really strange because I can totally overcome it all the way around the edge, which you can see here. I mean, it looks good, but I just don't understand why this edge can get so polished and the flat back can't. I love how the thing sounds though. Sounds super cool. Okay, here we go on the front. Dang it. Well, I got the top up to 1000 grit also. I feel like I'm through that weird grain pattern on the top, on all of the top actually. It looks a little hazy right now because I'm only at 1000 grit and it's kind of dirty, but I feel like it's way better than the back. So I just don't understand why I'm through that grain on the front. And I feel like I sanded the front less than the back. So I'm through that grain on the front, but not on the back. I don't know. Maybe somebody out there knows more than I do about polishing steel. I hope they do, and I hope they comment. I'm starting to understand National's raw series a little bit more. Theirs are really raw. I mean, I even see like big sanding marks from like the flappy paddle sanding wheels, you know, like 80 grit. I mean, I've seen some rough stuff on the National Raws. I mean, that raw series that they got, that's a good idea. To just go, yeah, that's what it looks like. Here's your guitar. That's brilliant. Whoever thought of that and called it the raw series, that's a marketing genius. I love it. I don't know what I'm going to call mine. I'm going to call mine, we tried to not make it raw, but it's still sort of raw. That's too long. We'll have to come up with something else. Okay, I hit it with some rubbing compound just to take the kind of haze off of it. And I got to admit, it looks really, really good. Oh, look at that. I mean, it does look really nice. But it's still got that haze to it. I'm thinking about maybe going down to Harbor Freight and buying one of those buffing, you know, like a buffing wheel. It looks like a big old angle grinder, but you can put a big giant buffing pad. They're bigger, but you can put a big buffing pad on it. Maybe if I put one of those on there and hit it with the rubbing compound with one of those, I might get to be right where I want to be with it. Maybe next week. Maybe that's what's part of next week's project is let's get one of those buffing wheels and see what that does to it. And I think it'd be super cool to have one of these with a crazy high polish finish on it instead of the nickel plating. I'm really liking the way that the steel polishes up and has that color to it. I just got to get better at it and figure it out. Okay, I guess that's going to do it for this week. I did make a lot of progress, but I thought I was going to get a lot further than I did. So much sanding. I mean, that was half the battle right there, was just getting all that sanding down. The body's looking amazing. It looks really, really good. I think it's going to look better before we're done here. In certain lights, it's just unbelievably nice. In other lights, it's like, wow, that doesn't look that good at all. It's really strange how that grain in the steel or that texture in the steel is really just causing me a lot of trouble there. I don't know how to get around that yet, but we'll figure it out. There's 1,000,007 tasks to do next week, and so yeah, next week we're just going to start on one of those 1,000,007 other tasks that are left to do to finish this thing. I think we'll play this one probably not next episode, but the episode after that. So 2 more episodes, we'll probably be up and playing this thing. I got my 2 hot rod cones from National, and I just bought the National Biscuit Bridge, the maple one that they sell, the black painted maple biscuit bridge. They look really nice. I think the hot rod cone is hopefully going to make a big difference. Got a Kent Armstrong mini humbucker on its way. I got a couple of them on their way. I've always really liked the Kent Armstrong pickups in my electrics, and so I would just want to try a Kent Armstrong mini humbucker in this one, see what we think. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to go tone and volume with knobs somewhere on it or just go straight to the jack. I have a feeling I'm just going to go straight to the jack. I don't really want any knobs. If you're going to plug your guitar in, your amp has got 1,000,000 knobs on it anyway. Use those knobs. You don't need them on the guitar. I don't know where the jack's going to be on here yet. It can't be right in the end because of the neck stick is in the way of putting it just right in the end there. So Not sure yet where I'm going to put the jack, but we'll figure that out. Okay, it's time to get out of here for this week. We'll see what we get done next week. Thanks for following along. I really appreciate you guys watching. See you later.